Yeah.
So
Yeah.
120 is the profit. The
That's amazing.
advantage here, multifamily. Why multifamily? There are like multiple ways, right? You get cash flow, you get appreciation at the end, and the best thing you could get is the depreciation. Some of our investors, especially high tech technology professional, they're making probably $200,000, $300,000 combined, or even higher, right? So they're paying a lot of taxes. Here, with accelerated depreciation, I think it was reduced to 60% for this year. So some of the properties can generate almost 100% of what they invested in
Oh yeah, because of
as
the
a
tax savings.
depreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the huge benefit in real estate, especially in the multifamily.
And we are back on the money, the mindset, and the mentoring podcast. We are super excited today. We've got Venkat Arumilli here. And Venkat, man, we met at an event up there in Milwaukee. And when you told me your story, I literally fell over because, man, for what you've achieved in such a short period of time, I don't think there's many people that have actually done that. So I'm super excited to have you as a guest on our show, and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for taking time and the opportunity to be present on your podcast. It's an honor to be here with you. Yeah, would love to let you know, my story. A few years ago, it was yet another Friday. I was in my office checking my emails. Then my boss came to me, Venkat, come to my office. I thought it's just a regular business project related stuff that he wants to discuss with me. But this time it's different. Venkat, we love what you do. Thank you for all the hard work you're putting here. Unfortunately, due to restructuring of the company, we have to eliminate your job. I felt sick to myself, as many of you feel the same. I just bought my house, and my daughters are in college. My story is not unique. For you, it may look like working long hours, or not being happy with what you're doing, or feeling insecure. Like many of you, I did that for 25 years with those fears. At that moment, I felt like there got to be better way. There got to be a better way than this. I could live better than this. So then I researched on real estate. I was going through everywhere. I lost my job. I found another job, but keep in mind, I wanted to do something better. So researched, then found out multifamily syndicators are the best way to achieve financial freedom. Attended boot camps, educational seminars from world-class experts, signed up for coaching programs, and masterminds from experts, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars because investing in myself. Since starting the multifamily syndications in just short 3 years, I'm able to secure and scale up my syndication business to 900 doors and help hundreds of people just like me when I was past, right, achieve passive income. I strongly believe investing in multifamily is a powerful wealth building strategy that allow you or anybody who wants to get into multifamily, they can live the life of the dream of. So
I love it. I love it. What a great story. So when we look at that, so what you're saying is you went from a position where you're working in a job, believe you're in the tech sector.
absolutely.
And you went from the tech sector and I think at that time you had owned you did have some investments, but it was in single family, and you were kind of growing some investments that way. Um, and then you went, the single family isn't moving at the speed in which you wanted it to. And then you did the pivot. Now, what's interesting, what you said, which I think is really important, is the first thing you didn't do was invest in real estate. The first thing you did was actually invest in yourself. So you said, I'm going to invest in myself, gain the knowledge from all the experts who are dominant in this space. And you said to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you didn't back down on your investment. You went fully committed. And by being fully committed, you then pivoted from having no multifamily in 2020 to over 900 doors this is recording in 2024. That's amazing. That is just absolutely stunning numbers. So very well done. Very well done. Now,
Yes,
some people would say, well, you did it at the perfect time, right? Is that, the timing was everything, and you were able to find when the market's just booming, and you rode that wave of the market. Now, what we were talking before this interview, you said, well, actually, that was an okay time, but maybe now might be even in better time. And what did you mean by that?
Yeah, great point, Steve. I did say that I invested in myself because that's the best thing you could do is investing in yourself. If I roll back all the way back to my 20s, I'm in 50s right now. So what I would have done is I would invest in myself. That's the best thing you could do. I never did that. So coming to the question that you have, the timing, right? Yeah, actually, I was buying multifamily at the peak. It was around COVID, everything. There was there are a lot of buyers. The brokers were not talking to us as a new investors because that's a high barrier to entry. Multifamily, it's a big boys game, but it took me a while to figure it out. I did not go straight to multifamily. I started researching on real estate, started single family like everybody else. And immediately after a year or two, after adding 17 properties, I realized it's a hustle again. That's when I was looking at multifamily. Yeah. So multifamily, I truly believe, is a powerful wealth building strategy. And timing is not the thing. That's a commitment to what you have, and you have taking action. That made me successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question that you took action. I mean, to take that level of commitment to go not only action with yourself, but action with 900 units. I mean, where are all these properties? I mean, obviously the company that you work with, the Sunbelt Equity Group, that's your organization. It says Sunbelt, so I'm assuming that's down all throughout the South, or else it'd be very confusing.
Yes. I have a criteria. During my last 3 years of my experience, we have a criteria, the location where, we look for the states that have investor friendly states that have population migration. So inflow of population. Where is that happening in the United States? All Sunbelt states. So that's how I founded Sunbelt Equity Group with my sister. So we have Sunbelt Equity Group. I brought her into the Sunbelt Equity Group because this is a multifamily is a team sport. You can't do by yourself. There are different roles that you need to play. So that's why we are looking at properties in Sunbelt states, primarily Texas, Florida, and some in Georgia right now. But we have a community that we support. They're all over country. So I have a community. We do every Monday, open Monday calls. We bring guests and we educate our community with the multifamily, how they can learn, how they can invest, how they can take advantage of. Why now is the best time to invest? Because what's happening is last year, I think that was the Fed increased interest rates several times in the history. I think the highest rate hikes in the history. What does it mean to is like interest rates went up, so does cap rates. Cap rates means if the higher the cap rate, the lower the property value. So as interest rates go up, the property values adjust to that because the multifamily primarily everything is based on the renting, right? How the rents go up and how much revenue it generates. But right now there are opportunities. The reason being, there are some borrowers last 2-3 years, they took bridge loans to acquire multifamily. They became motivated because, like FOMO, right? Like in the stock market, they were FOMO like last 2-3 years to acquire multifamily. They paid more and got bridge loans. What it means, Steve, bridge loan means they're like variable interest rate. They give you highest leverage and they need to be refinanced. Now the interest rates are higher. So what we do at Sunbelt, we never take bridge loans. We take a fixed interest rate loans. That's how we mitigate that risk. We are also have a huge investor community, so we serve our investors. We look at what investors are looking for, and we look for those properties to add value to our investors.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, when we look at multifamily, I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize when you jump into the investor side of real estate, that real estate isn't valued on the pretty countertop or, is it a double car garage or does it back on a green belt? What it's really valued on is the income that comes in. And we're
Yep.
certainly seeing this as a big challenge right now in the industry. We see this in Canada. I own a mortgage brokerage, and we see this in Canada where, people have a mortgage and it has a term coming due, and the lender, because in Canada, we have terms. We don't just go 30 years to 30 years. It has terms that renew every 5. And so as people's properties are coming due and the interest rate's going up, and therefore the value is going down because of the adjusted value in the cap rate, because cap rate and value are inverse. When one goes up, the other one goes down. And so as interest rate goes up, which means cap rates are going up, which means that values are going down. When people go to renew their mortgage, they're in a negative equity position. And so a lot of times we're going to see, you'll have lenders that say, we need to make up the difference. You're in a technical default. This actually happened to Grant Cardone back in, I'm going to say 2014. I might be wrong on that one, but it was somewhere around that time. It happened to him as well. He had hundreds of millions of dollars of mortgages that he was in technical default on. And he had to figure out a way to get out of that and then never get to that situation again. And so obviously he's figured that out because he's now raising billions of dollars. But, he went through one of those situations that a lot of people are going to experience for the first time now in their life. And now, unfortunately for them, it's a very difficult situation. For the lender or the buyer getting in, that might present some opportunity.
That's right. I think the similar situation is getting, repeated right now. There are probably several hundred billions of dollars there. Loans are due this year, next 12 to 24 months. So what does it mean? The sellers are highly motivated. For example, we are closing on a deal. We are acquiring that property $1 million less than what the seller paid for 2 years ago.
Wow.
And we are resuming their loan at 3.35. So there are opportunities like there. So now the debt you can get is around 6, even though there are projections that this year interest rates might go down. We are not sure, but still the high 6s or low 6s right now. We are getting it for 3. We are trying to get both. So there are opportunities like that exist. You need to find, instead of becoming a motivated buyer, you need to find motivated sellers. That's our business model. We do underwrite like hundreds of properties, but we only get very few we put offers on.
That makes sense. In other words, what you're saying is you look once, you look twice, you look 3 times, and then you finally strike on the one that makes the most sense.
Absolutely. We submit LOIs at the price that we underwrite. They don't accept. That's fine. We want to find the right. In the multifamily, unlike single family, you don't have to acquire a lot of properties.
Mm.
So
Yeah, very much so.
how I scaled up, multifamily is a team sport. So I don't need to know everything. So I need to find my superpower. What I found was initially I was finding the lead sponsors that have the experience. They are already proven. They have proven track record. I raise capital for them.
Mm.
So that way, that's exactly so added value and learn their asset management, how they're doing, how they're managing the property, learned everything from there. And now uh, we are acquiring our own properties. Eventually, we have plans to, uh, create our own property management, and we wanted to create a vertical integrated multifamily business. That's what we are working on.
I think a lot of the times, and I, in the industry of construction, and I'm not even going to talk multifamily, the vertical integration, I think, is going to be something that we're going to see as a huge pivot going into the next few years. Because the idea of, number one, when you have all of these small trades that have all this distributed decision making, it's very hard to build in a way that's really productive. But when you have a centralized decision making process where everybody's working towards the exact same goal, you can have so much more traction in that. I mean, there's a company up in Canada that it's a complete integrated vertical system for from construction to property management to service afterwards. There's not one person who works on that property that doesn't work for that company, and they produce massive success. Like they've just built so many units all across the province. They build great units, and they provide a really good value to the end consumer, and they're able to keep the cost down, which means the consumer benefits. Because when the cost of the construction is so high, the end consumer is the end one who actually ends up paying.
Absolutely. Uh, yeah, yeah, like vertical integration, primarily what we notice. I mean, this process, it's not, I made a lot of mistakes in this process. One of them, choosing the right partners, even though how careful you are, that's why we define our core values. So if the core values are aligned, then only we do partnerships. So it's very important to have a right alignment with your partners so that you work really well with them, right? So otherwise things would go. One of the challenges the seller is having is similar challenge. They're selling whole portfolio because of some of the challenges they have, internal challenges.
Yeah.
As a result, it's a cash flowing property is becoming like it's like it's draining cash. So that's why we are trying to help them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Other thing is, you need to always communicate with your investors. You need to let them know if some things are going wrong. Be transparent.
Yep.
So we are able to distribute last 1 year. We're distributing like we are as projected, and our investors are really happy. And we continue to acquire properties, and we continue to add value to our investors.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I think what you've got is you've got a really good direction. What you did is you first said, I want to go out and learn. I'm going to spend all this time learning. And then I'm going to go out and start building. And the key thing that you're focusing on is, number one, is core values, which I think that is a huge element to focus on, especially when you're trying to align a team. And as you said, nobody goes in this alone. When you go into multifamily, it's a team sport. I think that's huge. And then when you look at it and say, what we need to be doing is driving value to our investors, because there's many different types of investors out there. And what you're looking for, I mean, there are active investors who want to be out there and really kind of getting, and sometimes they could get a little bit more return, but because they're getting return on not only their money, but they're also getting return on their time. Whereas the passive investors, their time is better spent somewhere else. So they're really looking at just getting the passive investment. Am I summing that right?
Absolutely. I think you got the great points, like active and passive, right? So we cater, yeah, so exactly. So what I'm doing is an active investment, right? So I'm spending my time, I'm spending my energy. So, uh, and most of the community I serve is from technology. So there are a lot of technology people, technology professionals. They like what they're doing, but they are unsure what happens about the economy, right? Exactly, just like I did.
Yeah.
I was living that life for 25 years. I'm making decent money. Is it enough to? Most of it is going for mortgages, daughter's education. If for whatever reason, well, when you got laid off, you have nothing
Well,
to see.
in
Yeah,
Canada and taxes.
yeah. Here too, taxes. So that's the other thing it could solve because real estate, you could solve taxes big time.
Hmm.
So I learned that. So
Yep.
that's the other thing. So depending on where you are, as a technology professional, that's what my avatar is. So I could help them. So they could continue to work their W-2, but their retirement, that's where I'm, building wealth through multifamily. That's where we are going to help. So there are two ways. They can actively invest, passively invest. So we have properties that we acquire that bring significant value, at least 2x returns, right, in
Hmm.
5 years, with some cash flow around 40%, around 60% as a appreciation. So they
Hmm.
get some passive cash flow. The active investments is like I'm teaching. I was getting into all the masterminds, mentorships I learned. So I would like to, I created a blueprint for any new active investor to get into a first multifamily syndication in 6 months.
Wow.
So that's what we are starting a new coaching program. So to help because coaching, I mean, as I said, like investing in yourself is the best thing you could do. I think that's the best thing I have done. That's why I was able to, acquire 900 properties and I'm able to live my off my passive income right now. I'll continue to grow in that
That's
way.
perfect. And I love that. I think that, passive is really important to develop. And I talk about, personally, I think that there's two categories of income, and
Hmm.
there's wealth income,
Hmm.
and then there's revenue, like actual income. And I
Yeah.
look at those as two very important categories. And I think if you can make that income, whether that's from a job, so that technologist can still stay in their space and still earn for their living and live a
Hmm.
perfect great life, but
Yep.
then their passive is going to build up their really great life later on. And because it's going to get to the point that it's going to start overflowing the buckets, and they can choose to either invest from those buckets, or they can start pulling that to start impacting their life around them. I think it's beautiful to have both of those.
Absolutely. So I think I heard from the masterminds as a uh, business, you should have like 7 streams of income. I
Yep.
think you should be able to create those in multifamily itself a lot, right? So that's what we are trying to. We actively syndication. So syndication gives us some income, right? And we invest in our own properties that gives us passive income. And we wanted to uh, create a property management eventually, to optimize because a multifamily, what we operations are very important.
Yep.
So most of the uh, as you said, like based on the income, the property value, right? If you make operational efficiency, that it increase your net operating income, increase the value of the properties. So,
Absolutely.
like, yeah, everybody has to think that way, and we eventually probably would have lending, like you said, so to support our own funding.
Yep.
So those are all the great things that we need to work on.
Yeah, and I like when you talked about the idea of, and this is something that we talk about when we go through as the mortgage brokerage, and we're talking to people who are investors. I always like talking about the buckets in which they're going to make their income,
Mhm.
and we look at it the bucket of you've got the net income, which is going to be the cash flow plus any principal pay down if you're working in that direction. So those two will give you your net income, and that's your one bucket. And then your other bucket is the capital side, which is, that property is going to be going up in value, whether it's based on, the rents going up or whether it's based on capital improvements or additional units being put on, any of those things that can improve the property, whether it's market or not, that is something that can be the capital appreciation bucket. And understanding where your income's coming from, my personal belief, like I love cash flow. I think cash flow is the best kind of bucket to be because it's realized at that moment. Because if you're relying on the capital appreciation, that capital appreciation bucket kind of bit a couple people in the butt over the past couple months and, over the past year, and showing the volatility that the market can exist. In Canada, we've never seen something like this, in the last, 40 years probably. Whereas the States, you've seen a little bit more cycles. This is the biggest cycle we've ever seen. And I think it's the biggest reminder of the importance of cash flow.
I think you made a great point. We believe cash flow is, especially in these economic conditions, very important. So we look for cash flow in properties. Our investors don't want to wait too long to get the cash flow. So we look for cash flow. How to get the cash flow? Yeah. You need to look for the properties that are, you purchase at the right price, right? That's what we are doing. And the other thing is we look at the value add properties. So surprising thing is last 12 to 24 months, Class A properties were generating less cash flow, right? They were always the rental vacancy went up a lot in Class A. The properties we look at is B and C, where like blue collar, working class, they're pretty strong. So, and because of the interest rates, the cap rate expansion happened. That means prices went down because of the seller motivation. We are trying to find properties that has that motivation and also generate better cash flow. That's why we are seeing properties. We are looking at properties that generate 8 to 10% cash flow. In
8 to 10% cash flow.
Yeah, 8 to 10%. The property that we are closing, that's a 5 or 6B, friends and family, so I cannot disclose here. We are going to give like 10% cash flow.
For anybody who doesn't know the numbers, anybody who doesn't know that numbers, the 10% cash flow that's like sweet, sweet music to anybody investing in real estate. Because a lot of times you're looking at double digits when you're including the capital appreciation as well as the cash flow.
As well as cash flow. Absolutely.
And so the idea that you've got that just on the cash flow side, that is a thing of beauty.
So the reason we are able to achieve is that seller is operating at 68-70% expense ratio, where in Texas, we should be able to operate that same property at 55% expense ratio. So that's a tight 13% right off the gate. You don't need to do anything to the property. In addition to that, we should be able to do some value add and increase. So with just organic growth in the rental, we should be able to give cash flow to our investors. And also in 5 years, they get like 2.2x returns on their money.
So when we say 2.2x, what you're saying is 220% return on their money?
No.
2 times like 2.2.
2.2x. Like they give $100,000, they get $220,000.
Yeah, 220. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 120 is the profit. The advantage here, multifamily. Why multifamily? There are like multiple ways, right? You get cash flow, you get appreciation at the end, and the best thing you could get is the depreciation. Some of our investors, especially high-tech technology professionals, they're making probably $200,000, $300,000 combined or even higher, right? So they're paying a lot of taxes. Here, with accelerated depreciation, I think the it was reduced to 60% for this year. So some of the properties can generate almost 100% of what they invested in
Oh yeah, because of
as
the
a
tax savings.
depreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the huge benefit in real estate, especially in the multifamily. In single family, you have to do that one in 22.5 years. So here, you should be able to do that in first year, first 5 years, being this year, I think 60%. I think there are talks that it's going to come back as 100% for this year. That's another huge benefit. Later, they can defer those. That's another discussion. That's a taxing discussion, but that's a huge benefit.
That is a
They
massive
don't,
benefit.
yeah, for investing $100,000, they don't need to invest $100,000. Probably if they take consideration of taxes and all those, probably $50,000, $60,000 they need to invest.
Yeah, the tax savings on doing some of these things. I know as corporations, we'd use different strategies around real estate to save tax,
Yep.
and the tax savings itself is far exceeds even the cash flow benefits. Now you have to think about tax deferral versus actual
Yeah.
tax. And what does that mean? In Canada, it's very different, and in the United States, you guys get a lot more benefits than we do. But I think it's definitely something that's really interesting. Now, when you have your meetings that you do those on Monday nights, right? Where you bring in all the different the different speakers and that sort of thing. And when we were talking, I think you said that on average you would have around 50 people on your Zoom call, all investors sharing knowledge, really growing. That's awesome to have that kind of a community to be meeting every Monday religiously. That's amazing.
Yes, we have every Monday, we have a call every Monday at 8 p.m. Monday night, Eastern Time. It's on our website, sunbeltequitygroup.com. And there is a community section there. They can have all the information. We'll have the speakers. Every other week, we bring a speaker, and every week we educate the community. The reason we are doing this one is educating because I didn't have that kind of awareness because I was paying and getting. I was in all the mentorships in multifamily because I realized investing in yourself is the best thing. And not only that, it's a proximity, right? So
Yeah,
how I get to know great people like you because of proximity, right?
absolutely. Likewise.
So proximity is very powerful, right? So for example, taxing, my mentor, his strategy is for the last since 2019, paying zero taxes. He's achieving that. It's one of his goals. How he handles tax deferred and all, it's his accountant, his CPA would handle. But he makes sure that he pays $0 of taxes. So here we're going to educate our community on because what it was lagging before. So when I started, so I thought it's the best way. And we have an awesome team. Myself and my team will come on and educate. We'll discuss. It will be more interactive sometimes. So it's community of like-minded people
Beautiful.
to help each other and grow together. That's the concept. Uh, so we help. There are some new. They want some of them are active. We wanted to be a GPs. Some of them wanted to passively invest, but we share knowledge.
That's beautiful. And that's sunbeltequitygroup.com is the website.
That's
And
right.
slash call is how you would jump onto that call.
Yes.
And Venkat, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I think the amount of information that you shared and to share that it is possible to go from no multifamily units in 2020 to having over 900 now, and to do that pivot from a point in which you lost your job to really finding this moment of wealth building that just
Mhm.
it's a great story to share, and we really appreciate you having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for it's pleasure. It's an honor to be on your show, Steve. I really appreciate. Thank you, and like many of you, my listeners, my technology professionals, I'm there to help. I just don't want them to feel the pain that I had for 25 years. there is a better way. So still continue their jobs, but there is a multifamily investment. I believe it's a powerful strategy. So
And
imagine.
that's sunbeltequitygroup.com, guys. I would definitely encourage you to join his Monday call. And with that, we'll move on to the next episode of the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.